Hello and welcome to this lesson, Hard Work Pays. Our previous lesson was on monarchy. Today's lesson is on Republican government. I need to know the meaning of Republican government, the characteristics of Republican government, differences between Republicanism and monarchy. What is Republican government? Republican form of government can be defined as a sovereign state headed by a president elected for a fixed term of office. Unlike a monarchy, succession to the office of head of state is non-hereditary but elective. Now, what this form of government is trying to explain is that it is based on election, unlike in monarchy, whereby the king or queen may inherit the rulership through hereditary means. Now, it is a representative democracy in which government is by the consent of the people. And Republican government has various elements such as popular representation, popular election, periodic elections, limitation to the exercise of power, the rule of law, political responsibility, term of office, and so on. So we're going to be looking at them one after the other, okay? Just make sure you have your writing material with you and pay attention to the lesson. Do you understand? Why do you think countries practice Republican government? When it comes to popular representation, now the government is based on popular representation. Now, different interests in society are represented by elected representatives. Now, people elect representatives that will help represent their interests in government and other positions in the parliament. Do you understand? Then there is a system of popular election where the election is periodic and popular. Are we together? Now, offices is through popular election. For one to become the head, he or she must go through election. Nigeria so far has succeeded in operating four republics. The first was in 1963 and was between 1963 and 1966. The second was between 1979 and 1983. The third was in 1989, and the Fourth Republic was from 1999 to 2005. Do you understand, students? Please ensure you are with your writing materials. You need to take down these points. Okay? In the First Republic, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was elected as president, that is, a ceremonial head of state, in a parliamentary or cabinet system of government. Now, in the Second Republic, that is between 1979 to 1983, Alhaji Shehu Shagari was elected executive president for the country as both head of state and government under a presidential system of government. Before I proceed further, can we still remember what is a presidential system of government? Can we still remember the meaning of presidential system of government? Now, when we talk about presidential system of government, it is a system of government in which the head of state is also the head of government. That means one person is the head of state and that same person is the head of government. I hope we are with our writing materials. Are you with your writing materials, students? Similarly, the Third Republic was under Ibrahim Babangida. The Fourth Republic was under Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who was elected as president, head of state and government in 1999. Countries like Cameroon, Niger, Chad, USA, India, etc. are examples of republican governments. Are we together, students? Now, let us see the characteristics of a republican government. Are we together, class? Okay. Now, students, the first characteristics of a republican government is popular representation. Can you say it? Popular representation. A republican government is based on popular representation. What this means is that different interests in a society are represented by elected representatives. Okay? Now, the second characteristics of a republican government is popular election. Can you say, students? Popular election. Now, popular election has to do with the succession to different political offices. Hello? It has to do with the succession to different political offices. Now, before a successful candidate gets into office, he or she must go through popular election. Okay? Now, the third feature is periodic elections. It is what? Periodic elections. Elections are usually periodic. In some political systems, it could be every 4 or 5 years, as the case may be. You know, in Nigeria, it is every 4 years. That is when we carry out our election. Now, the next characteristics of a republican government is limitations to the exercise of power. There is what? Limitations to the exercise of power. There are limitations to the exercise of power by political leaders in a republican government. The next characteristics of a republican government is the rule of law. Now, when you talk about the rule of law, it is the absolute supremacy or predominance of law over everybody, both the rulers and the ruled. The theory of the rule of law was propounded by A.V. Dicey. Now, the rule of law, it has to do with what? The supremacy of the constitution, and the rulers must abide by its provisions. Okay? Another feature or characteristics of a republican government is political responsibility. The political leaders must be responsive and accountable to the people they are representing. It is very good for a leader to be accountable, and responsive. Okay, now you have to be accountable to the people you are representing in your area. Another characteristics of a republican government is fixed term of office. Fixed term of office. Now, leaders can only hold office for a fixed term or only during good behavior. When a leader has a good behavior, he or she can stay in office for a reasonable time. It all depends on the people popular support. Okay, for example, the second and third republic constitutions in Nigeria's presidential system of government allow for 2 terms of 8 years. What it means is that a candidate can only do 2 terms in a state. There's nothing like 12 years in Nigeria. The maximum years is 8 years. That is 2 terms. Okay. Now, another characteristics of a republican government is popular sovereignty. Now, when we talk about sovereignty, what do you understand by the term sovereignty? Now, sovereignty is the absolute power of a state to exercise supreme legal authority over its own affairs within its territorial jurisdiction. What it means that a country, a state, can exercise absolute power over its own affairs without any form of external influence. Because when we talk about sovereignty, we have external sovereignty, internal sovereignty, we have legal sovereignty, political sovereignty, de facto sovereignty, de jure sovereignty. When it comes to legal sovereignty is the body that makes laws and enforces same in the states. When we say political sovereignty, it refers to that body which is supreme in a state. The will which is ultimately obeyed by the citizens of the state. The electorate constitutes the political sovereign. Hello? Now we also have de facto sovereignty, and it refers to the body or group of people who use force to make citizens obey their will after overthrowing the legitimate sovereign of the state through invasion or revolution. For example, military government. Now when we talk about de jure sovereignty, this is a type of sovereign rule which is based on law and its application as opposed to physical exercise or use of force. What it means is that de jure sovereignty does not require the application of force, unlike de facto sovereignty. When it comes to internal sovereignty, it refers to the supreme power the state has to make and enforce laws within its area of authority. Are we together, students? Please write down these points. And finally, when we talk about external sovereignty, the power of the state exists and conduct its domestic affairs without external influence. The state also has the power to decide on how to relate with other nations of the world on equal basis. Do we understand, students? Now back to Republican government. We are still on the characteristics of Republican government. Now the last characteristic here is equality of citizens. All citizens have equal opportunity to vote or to contest any elective post in the system. Now we can see that Republican form of government creates room for equality amongst citizens of a given state. The system affords people equal opportunity to vote or to contest for any elective positions in the states. Do we understand, students? All right. Now, students, can we see the differences between republicanism and monarchy? The first under republicanism is that the head of state is the president, while in monarchy, the monarch, which is the king, queen, or president, is the head of state. The second under republicanism is that he is popularly elected by the people, while in a monarchy he is not elected, but ascension to the throne is hereditary. The third under republicanism is that the president stays in office for a fixed term, while in monarchy the monarch does not have a fixed term. Now let's go to the fourth differences here. In republicanism, elected representatives are responsible and accountable to the people, while in monarchy, representatives or officials in government are mostly appointed and therefore not responsible or accountable to the people. Finally, under republicanism, there are limitations to the exercise of power. There are limitations to the exercise of power by the political leaders, While in monarchy, limitations to the exercise of power are in constitutional monarchy, but not in absolute monarchy. Now we have come to the end of this lesson. I believe it will be very helpful to you. Once again, I am glad to have you all as part of this lesson. It has been amazing working with you on this. Education impacts societies worldwide for the better. Be the change you want to see in your community by learning at UPSS. Thanks for listening and bye.